I'm here with Sheryl Allred. She owns Rockcliffe Credit Solutions, and she's going to give a little bit of a background in what she does. And I thought it was just fascinating because in the merchant world, in credit card processing, the word chargeback is not a good thing in our industry. Or Sheryl, can you kind of give us a background on what you've been doing and how you've been able to what you've been able to do to help people getting chargebacks. So give us a little bit of your background.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I have been in this industry for about 15 years or just over 15 years, and I work with a whole bunch of different kind of merchants. And my main service, I guess, is I help I help reduce the chargebacks, and then I also help with their win rates. So, and then I also help them with their processes so then they don't get as many in the future.
Okay. So,
And
so you're basically just someone gets a chargeback, they call you up and say, Sheryl, I have like four chargebacks. I don't have time to work on this thing. Can you handle it? I mean, basically that's what you're doing. Is you're
exactly.
okay. You're running with the chargebacks and helping customers be able to win those chargebacks so that they don't get them on their record. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Well, once they come to me, it's already on their record,
oh
but
yeah.
I help them win their money back. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Get be able to get the money back. Okay, gotcha.
hmm
So
But
yeah.
then I also do help them reduce their chargeback so then they won't ever come on their record. Yeah. So I
Uh,
do a little bit of both.
okay. So the question, maybe in the industry too is, and maybe even someone that's starting a new business, why should businesses care about chargebacks? Why is this a big deal?
So last year in 2023, there was $84 billion charged back from credit cards just in America alone. That's
Wow.
$83 billion, and that's up 16% from 2022. So it's a increasing problem.
Mhm.
Consumers, it's getting easier and easier for consumers, with mobile banking. You can just go on your app and be like, I didn't like that, or whatever, I want to dispute this transaction and this one. Like it's so easy.
Gotcha.
Um, and for your processing side, as a merchant, for your processing side, the card brands, Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, they only allow a certain percentage of your transactions to be disputed. So if you go over that certain percent, which is usually 2% at the very, very highest, usually it's like
Uh-huh.
1% of your transactions being disputed, then you can get your account shut off. And if you can't process, then there kind of goes your business. So
Yeah.
it's really important to be aware of and take care of your chargebacks.
Yeah, I mean, I run into that with a lot of my different clients and stuff where they'll, or even like someone that's trying to get a merchant account where they've been shut down several times and now they're wondering why. It's because of the majority of the time it's because they had chargebacks on their account. So
Yeah.
that's great insight. So I'm curious too, what is the timeline that a customer or a business has to dispute or a charge on their credit card? So businesses know the timeline. Give us an idea of what the timeline looks like for a business and a consumer to do a chargeback.
So it would be 180 days,
Okay.
which is half a year, 6 months, I believe.
Yeah,
So
6 months.
it's a very, very long time.
Okay. Is that at the time when they take the money, or is it the time of the service being rendered? Do you know?
Yeah, it's when the charge is being when the money is taken.
Processed. Okay, gotcha.
So the transaction date.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So, 180 days, 6 months. Yeah, that's crazy. Have you had any stories where businesses weren't aware of this? Because I don't know if a lot of businesses are really aware of this. I mean, is it a surprise to them when they hear that it's 6 months that someone can charge
Oh
back?
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. It's wild. Like sometimes some of my clients are like, this happened last August. Like they had the product for 5.5 months. Like why are they saying it's damaged or they didn't get it? Like I'm confused.
Yeah, yeah.
So it is very surprising when it's like, hey, this order has been closed forever. We haven't heard back from the customer. We don't know what's going on.
I guess everybody is so used to the Costco return policy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Return it back in 4 years or whatever.
Exactly.
Kind of
Exactly. I
crazy.
used all the tissues, but
Yeah.
they're all gone. Can I return it?
Uh,
Yeah.
so that's good insight. So tell me, to what can businesses do to mitigate chargebacks to their company? So obviously you can help them with the chargebacks they have, but what can they do to
hmm
help mitigate and prevent chargebacks in the first place?
My number one suggestion is communication is key. So so pick up those customer calls,
Mhm.
respond to their emails, customer service, like make sure you are on point and you are active on there. Make sure the customer is feeling heard. And then also, um, if you're doing e-commerce, make sure your product descriptions are what you're actually selling.
Mhm.
We don't want to have someone order a chair and then have it come and it's like, oh, it's a dull chair. I thought this was going to be for my living room,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah.
I thought I was getting the new big TV and it's, teeny. So you want to make sure that your descriptions are super, super accurate. So then consumers aren't confused when they receive what they
I mean,
thought they ordered.
it sounds logical, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
you think so, but a lot of times merchants don't think about that. I think because we know what we're selling, and
mhm.
so we assume other people do as well. So
Uh-huh.
we just need to be extra clear. I like to always say, pretend we're talking to a toddler. Like, make sure a toddler can understand, and that way everyone will understand it, hopefully.
So there's a word in the industry called your descriptor. So the descriptor is what
Mhm.
is described on the customer's bank statement. So
Yes.
how important is that to have like a descriptor that people are going to recognize or and be able to notice and know? I mean, you see that that's a problem with people getting chargebacks. They just don't
Yeah.
have, they're not communicating that descriptor on the bank account of the consumer.
Totally, totally. And you'll set up the descriptor with your processor. So whoever your processor is, you can contact them and update your descriptor, but it is vital to have a descriptor that matches your business. So what I always recommend is having your business phone number first and then your DBA, you're doing business as. That way when someone uh, sees the transaction on their statement, they can either Google the number, they can Google your bank or your DBA, sorry, um, and just
Look it
be
up.
like, oh yeah, that's what it was. Now
Okay.
I remember. Or they can call that number, and be like, oh yeah. Although I'm gonna be real, most people probably wouldn't just call a random number. But also it helps banks realize who they are too. So
Yeah.
I would highly recommend
Okay.
it. That will reduce your fraud chargebacks by a lot.
Is there is there certain types of like contracts or things they have to have in place? Because you hear about, obviously it's
Mhm.
retail, it's really, there's not necessarily like a contract or something, but there's got to be some type of verbiage online, or if they're selling in a store or something to be able to have kind of that agreement to be able to show the bank if you have to dispute it. Maybe explain a little bit about having some type of agreement or something to be able to help the business owner to win the chargeback when it does.
Mhm. Yeah, so if you have a brick and mortar store, which is like a retail,
Mhm.
then get like signatures on your receipts.
Receipts. Okay.
When someone swipes your card, make sure they get a signature. And that way that will help you win so many of your disputes. Like, hey, I wasn't there. Well, actually you were, because here's your card, you had your physical card, and here's your signature,
Yeah.
you know. So that will totally help. With e-commerce, I highly suggest um click to accept. You have to have your terms on your order page. So the checkout page, you have to have your terms and then have a box that says I accept the terms and conditions. I would even include and the refund policy. So I accept the terms and conditions and the refund policy. Or if you don't have a refund policy, if it's like a service and it's a no refund policy, then include that as well. you can have 2 check marks for that or 1 check mark, but that is key. You
Okay.
have to have that, and then you also have to have your terms, and it can't be like a click here to see the terms, you actually have to have the terms there, and it can
Oh,
be in a scroll box,
mhm.
um, but you do need to have your terms on your order page, like the checkout page.
Yeah. So obviously you're gonna show the bank, say, hey, look, these guys checked out, they clicked the
Mhm.
box, they knew exactly what they were getting. My terms are
Yep.
as clear as can be, my refund policy, if they have a refund policy, it's clear. Okay.
Mhm, and if I have a no refund policy, that's also clear.
Yeah. No refund policy. No, yeah. That's good insight. And a lot of that too is set up. I know I help merchants to help them before they can even go live, they have to have that stuff in place. I mean, refund
Yep.
policies, terms and conditions on their website. So yeah, that's good insight. Now, is there any certain type of industry or industry types that are more susceptible to chargebacks? I know there's high risk industries and stuff, but what have you kind of seen over the past 15 years in industry types and what goes on? And
Yeah, so anything with a high ticket, like furniture, online furniture, um, the travel industry, gambling, adult entertainment, nutraceuticals,
okay,
free trials, or
oh,
subscription-based businesses, those are also really susceptible to disputes. Um,
okay.
yeah,
So you guys,
e-commerce in general, but I would specifically say those ones, or used or luxury brands.
okay.
Those are also highly susceptible to chargebacks.
Okay. Um, so since this is kind of your world in chargebacks, if somebody, I guess explain again or explain how exactly what you do and how you can help a business and to be able to dispute the chargebacks and how what does that look like, and then also how to what you do to be able to help them, prevent the chargebacks.
Yeah, so chargebacks are kind of tricky. Like you'd think that they would be super easy, but actually the rules are stacked against you as the merchant. So they're very much in favor for the cardholder. The cardholder doesn't have to provide proof. They don't have to provide anything. It's their word against your proof. So you have to provide all the proof. Um, and you're busy, like merchants are busy running their business. They don't have time to read the 700-page document given out by Visa and MasterCard.
Mhm.
And so that's what I do. I read it, make sure we know the regulations and the rules, what evidence we need, even though a lot of times that's very vague. Um, the card brands leave it vague on purpose. So then, once again, they can say, well, you didn't provide the right evidence. Um, so chargebacks are tricky. And so I help my customers or my merchants. I help them with pulling the disputes, creating the rebuttals, submitting the disputes, and then following up. And then I also, throughout that process, I see where their weaknesses are, their blind spots. What can they improve? Maybe we need to shorten the shipping time, or maybe we need to include the shipping time frame on their invoice, whatever that may be. So I help also with process improvement. And then I can set up chargeback alerts so then we can reduce chargebacks. Um, and then there's a lot of ways that we can do that. But I take that off of the merchant's plate so
Yeah.
then they can focus on running their business rather than trying to figure out what to do with these chargebacks.
Mhm. Okay, gotcha. So what I'll do then is I'll put in the description, I'll put your contact information. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you and needs to, yeah, I guess figure out chargebacks that they're dealing with, or maybe what they can do to prevent that and get some more information. So I'll put your contact information below. But yeah, thanks so much, Cheryl, for kind of give us insight on chargebacks, because I know it's a big deal when a merchant cannot process, because now they can't,
Yeah.
the money stops. And so this is good information to be able to help businesses. So I appreciate you jumping on here today and kind of go over this. So
Thank
awesome.
you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.